distinguished Metropolitan Mayor, and the Tourism Director, and the President, and the representatives of the Delhi's World Gourmet Cities Network, and the representatives of the political parties.
Gentlemen, les excellences, chers participants.
One of the most beautiful cities in the world. C'est un grand plaisir pour nous d'accueillir la famille Delis à Izmir, l'une des plus belles villes du monde. Welcome to the Delis Meeting 2021 Izmir. Bienvenue à la réunion Delis 2021.
And I would like to thank you for being with us on this rainy day. And rain in Turkey means abundance, prosperity, and we hope that Delhi's 2021 Izmir meeting will give rise to much abundance and cooperation.
We believe in Turkey that the rain brings us abundance, so we wish our gathering to be fruitful and it conduces to many beautiful, sustainable collaborations.
And the main title of this historical meeting is the food heritage. And you must have noticed that hospitality in Turkey is intertwined with food. And here in this historical building, the Association of Young Business People are hosting us. Now I would like to invite the President of EGİAD, Mr. Alp Avni Yelkenbiçer.
Mr. Tunç Soyer.
Sayın Deliz üyeleri ve EGİAD adına hepinize hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum.
First reunion of delegates. That's why we are all happy to be together again. As EGİAD, we are more than happy and honored to host this beautiful organization in this historical building. The Social Activities Center was originally built as a Portuguese synagogue that was originally built in 17th century and renovated by EGİAD after signing a protocol with Turkish Jewish community, and now it's open to public. This is the first time a historical building gets renovated by an NGO and transformed into a social cultural activities center. The renovating building sets an example for not only just Turkey, but also for Europe. Dear distinguished guests, with its historical background, Izmir had been home to many civilizations throughout the history. Each of these civilizations had left an important mark in this city. Therefore, there is significant cultural heritage above, beneath, and the soils of this city. We continue working on highlighting the historical and cultural wealth of Izmir. As part of our program, it's especially important to review the historical area and historical Old Town Kemeraltı district and transform into a landmarks for both tourists and locals. As business world, we are trying to create a public opinion and support any project with this goal, like here in this example, in the Portuguese synagogue example. We see a similar philosophy in our actions, in the actions of our Mayor Tunç Soyer, who introduced us an inspiring circular cultural concept. He had a great relations with each one in Izmir, and it's a really pleasure to work with him closely. We, as a business world representatives, give very special importance to Delhi's network because of this network teaches competence building, gives inspiration, and great area for sharing experiences, which gives us a benchmarking opportunity. The history has brought many cultures and nations together, and the globalization has resulted in exchange of products, interchange of life values and cultural practices. But pandemic has resulted to think twice about the relevance of the globalization. The quarantine period has tested physical and mental strength of people. Globalization and multiculturalism result in enriching the ethnic, creative, social, economic, and personal aspects of humanity. During the post-pandemic period, it becomes important for mankind and world leaders to deal with the global crisis fairly to ensure health and harmony across the borders. In this manner, Delhi's network is more valuable than before. I wish you a great event. Thank you very much.
Sayın Yelkenmişler'e konuşması için bizler de teşekkür ediyoruz. Thank you.
Dear Councillor, dear municipality members and dear Delhi's friends. So this is already the second day of our program after 2 years without any physical gathering. It is so good to be back in touch with each other. And I would like to focus again on what's Delhi's. We are going to celebrate our 15th anniversary next year. And we still stick to the same core values since day one, back in 2007. We are really focusing on connecting, sharing, and learning in a non-competitive context. We don't want to sell our cities to the other city members. We just want to learn from each other. And I'm getting very often the question about what's the ideal city member of this network. Well, we're not looking for the big names. We're just looking for cities with a volunteer to learn and to share the information. And with that respect, I think that Izmir is really one ideal member, because since the first day you joined the network back in 2015, and especially with the help of Sirma Güven, we've been in touch with Izmir on a day-to-day basis, and they've participated, you have participated to so many projects, like this Lyon Street Food Festival. I remember we've been invited to the first gastronomic festival that you organized in Izmir some years ago. It was, like I think 7 or 8 years ago. And so since the first day, Izmir has been a very active member, which is for us really the ideal way of being part of this network. So this is really good for us to be in Izmir for this first meeting after 2 years without any physical gathering. And the theme of the meeting of this year is this Izmir meeting is heritage. Yesterday we had some very interesting insights on the topic. What is heritage? Why did we get, yesterday for lunch, why did we get a fresh fish kebab and not a chicken kebab, for example? Just because of the link of Izmir with the sea. And because heritage is also, these are our roots, these are our traditions, this is our food culture, and heritage is the best we want to keep from that. And I see heritage and food culture as a tree, and these are our roots. And we need our roots to develop our future and our present, and to flourish on the world scene. And today, visitors, but also local citizens are more and more looking for authenticity. And we're all unique, and that's why we're not competing with each other. And what Brussels has to offer is very different from what Cali has to offer in Colombia. And let's keep it that way, because it is the best way. Globalization in our topics is maybe not a good thing, or we have to adapt this globalization to local taste, local food culture. So I'm very glad that we have 2 Turkish members in the network. Well, in the future we might have another one, a third one joining us, because we have our friends from Istanbul who are participating to this meeting as well. And we don't want to grow too fast. After 15 years, we just have 31 members. You could say, oh, it's not very impressive. It is just because this is the way we want to keep the network. We want to have strong relationship between the cities. We want to know each other. So we don't want to grow too fast. And we take our time. And we take our time to try to get the new members used to the network and to our DNA and to the way we work. And with that respect, I think that Izmir has been very good in learning fast and getting into the process of sharing information. So today will be dedicated to Izmir, so we'll learn a lot from you, and I'm sure we'll learn many useful things for our own use. And this is really the way we are building this network. And I'm now giving the word to the distinguished Mayor. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup Monsieur Maret pour votre discours. Sayın Maret'e konuşması için teşekkür ediyoruz. Özür dilerim. Şimdi de tohumdan sofraya, çiftçinin, aşçının, gıda sektörü...
Sanatçılarının, servis duayenlerinin el emeği göz nuru her bir ürününün, her bir sunumunun bereketini artırmak, katma değerini yükseltmek ve İzmir'in mutfağıyla, yerel lezzetleriyle dünyanın konuşulan marka kentlerinden biri haline getirmek için çalışan İzmir Büyükşehir
I would like to invite now the Metropolitan Mayor Tunç Soyer to the rostrum.
Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you all to Delis Network Gathering 2021 in Izmir. In these times, when our problems are becoming more and more universal, so do the solutions, and new approaches start to extend from local to global. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, especially to share and learn from the practices of other cities in the world on food and gastronomy. I would like to thank the Delis Network Executive Committee for their decision to host this event in Izmir. For almost 2 years now, we are facing the threat of coronavirus. Food sector in general was one of the most severely affected sectors due to the pandemic. Increasing numbers of small to medium-sized restaurants keep shutting down their businesses due to ever-changing restrictions and irregular policies. On the other hand, the coronavirus pandemic showed once again how closely related we are. Yet the coronavirus pandemic is not the one and the only threat that the food industry is facing today. It is evident for all of us now that our standard approach to food production systems damages our planet's ecosystem and biodiversity. No longer can we only focus on the taste of the food on our table. We should also ask ourselves the production processes, what we are consuming, from seed to fork, a new way of understanding agriculture, food and gastronomy is necessary in today's world. In Izmir, we are suggesting a new approach with our agrarian strategy. We announced that another way of feeding our cities is possible. Our strategy focuses on two main issues: striving against drought and striving against poverty. For the farmer, we encourage strategic products that do not require irrigation or require lesser irrigation. We are giving priority to products that are suitable to the climate of Izmir. This approach, which decreases the cost of farmers, also preserves the local tastes and products that are on the verge of being forgotten. By doing so, we aim to reduce the water usage in agricultural irrigation by at least 50% through basin planning, that is, by planting the right crop in the right place. For the latter, we are taking up all the processes from seed to fork with the idea of supporting small-scale producers. From packing to branding, we are supporting small producers of Izmir so that they can compete with global companies. Keeping the agricultural workforce in rural areas, we are both sustaining the quality of food on our tables and giving opportunities to our farmers to grow their livelihood. Dear participants, we are taking one step further with the vision that we implement here in Izmir. With the aim of bringing international food market together with the local producers, Terra Madre, one of the biggest food fairs in the world, will be held in Turkey for the first time. Among our gastronomy fairs, Terra Madre Anatolia will make it possible for small producers to become direct exporters. I would like to take this opportunity to invite all the participants and members of the LIS network to Terra Madre Anatolia that will take place in Izmir in 2021 September. Izmir is a city that has a history stretching back to 8,500 years. As one of the most important ports in the Mediterranean, Izmir was home to many different cultures for hundreds of years. This cultural diversity today reflects its own on the gastronomy of Izmir. As proud bearers of this diverse food culture, gastronomy takes one of the main pillars in our tourism strategy. We are following state-of-the-art applications and trends in tourism industry. We know very well that individual travel is increasing all around the world. Especially after coronavirus pandemic, travelers tend to enjoy both the nature and gastronomy of rural areas, searching for unique and local tastes. Izmir, with its huge rural area, offers diverse and unique tourism products for travelers who seek alternative tourism types, especially concerning eco, rural, agro, and gastronomy tourism. From vineyards to olive routes, from mountains to plains, Izmir offers several unique gastronomical products to its visitors. We have also taken measures against coronavirus pandemic for touristic establishments in Izmir. Being one of the most severely affected industries, as I mentioned before, we supported restaurants with our hygiene certification following pandemic. Orange Circle hygiene certification helped establishments to gain the trust of customers. More than 300 touristic restaurants were certificated with Orange Circle, which helped them endure coronavirus crisis. We have much to learn from each other as coronavirus pandemic and climate crisis become dominant forces in our daily lives. Even though we are separated geographically, the problems we are facing in today's world unite us to strive for better solutions for the well-being of our citizens all around the world. I would like to thank once again to all participants of this event and the members of the LIS network. It's an honor for us to host such a valuable gathering where we can discuss the future of our cities and our gastronomy. With my warmest regards, I wish for all a fruitful gathering. Thank you.
We thank Mr. Mayor for his speech. Teşekkür ediyoruz başkanım bu değerli konu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for this valuable speech. Yes, this is the end of our opening ceremony. Now we will be having a session on Izmir strategy on food and gastronomy.
Delis 2021 Izmir opening ceremony ends here. Now we are going through our session titled Izmir's Food and Gastronomy Strategy. Pazartesi gününden bu yana
So since Monday, we had delicious and pleasant meetings, and we tasted extraordinary dishes of Izmir, and we had exchanged ideas on our food cultures. And today, we will be listening to our local experts in the session on Izmir's food strategy on food and gastronomy. So this is our hybrid session. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Güven Eken, Councillor to the Mayor, in order to tell us Izmir as a city of agriculture.
to the stage for his speech.
Sayın Başkanım,
Distinguished Mayor, distinguished President of the LIS Network, and our Culture and Tourism Director, and distinguished participants. Actually, what I'm going to tell you is it's new for our foreign guests, but together with our Mr. Mayor, since Seferihisar, we have been telling this story for more than 10 years. We have been writing this story for more than 10 years. So most of you already know this. And today, I'm hoping that you will be learning this story. So I'm going to talk about the invisible part of the story, because since our childhood, there's a word that taught us, there's an expression. So just eat the grape, don't ask who has grown this grape. So this is a saying in Turkish, but this actually shows us, unfortunately, the bitter truth if we do not look into details. So this philosophy has penetrated all dimensions of our life. And however, in everything we do, so we always look into its source. We look into all and track everything from farm to table, and we are imagining a process management which we can track in detail, particularly in relation to gastronomy. And actually, in the world, gastronomy is a very important subject, but I see that it became a fetish, and it concerns me that it is turning into a fetish. So a beautiful presentation, so a story is told about each food, and in new generation restaurants, so this is something nice, but if we do not go back, if we do not look into the source, if we do not look how the dish on your plate has come there, yes, it may be delicious, but still that food may be hurting other creatures. It may be good for humans, but bad for other creatures. So I think in gastronomy we should look into these ties, actually invisible ties. This is what we should be concentrating on. We should not be only concentrating on what we see. Yes, because the taste, our life on the world actually is described by these relationships, and everything on our plate is the product of a long relationships throughout the chain. And in Anatolia, for thousands of years, women were responsible to this, agriculture and gastronomy. And of course, men were a part of this, but intellectually, Anatolian women were the leaders in gastronomy and agriculture. So archaeological findings show us this, that in the agricultural system in Turkey or in the world, women were always leaders. So the Anatolian women developed a system since the first Neolithic ages, and the humans that made this agricultural revolution, this is what they have done. So this was not an agriculture that was based on ownership. So people were doing agriculture on a basin scale. So this continued for thousands of years. So they didn't say that this is my plot, I'm going to grow this, and this is your plot, you are going to grow that. Instead of doing this, they said that this is our basin, so in order to have food, we are going to produce this and that, and we are going to produce all together, and we are going to accumulate, and we are going to share the surplus. So this is the philosophy of the agricultural production for thousands of years, for more than. So in this lens, agriculture was done more than 10,000 years, and we didn't have destruction of nature until 70 years ago. So after 1960s, we started to harm the nature, harm the environment. So I think this is because Anatolian women had this approach to agriculture. And the antithesis is the ownership-based agriculture and ownership-based world perspective. So this is the philosophy where a person only eats the grape and is not asking where this grape was and how this grape was grown. So now, unfortunately, we are all experiencing and have become aware of the bitter truth of climate change. And therefore, we should look into the old knowledge, and we should not consider this as only an anthropologic data, or we should not adopt a shallow perspective to Anatolian women. We should understand this 10,000-year-old knowledge that has been possessed by Anatolian women. And I think NGOs and universities should do more. So there's a crisis in the world, and we should be fighting with this crisis. And the knowledge that we need is not in the textbooks. And we it is in the verbal culture. And we should be looking into archaeology and anthropology. I think Ahmet, the next speaker, will tell it more. And we should be interpreting the knowledge that is in the old books. So this is not only the archaeological information. Or I think the story of the Anatolian woman actually present us with information that may provide us a secure future. And this is what we are trying to do. And for more than 12 years, this is what Mr. Tunç Soyer has been trying to do, and we have prepared written documents. Now we have a written text, and we are saying that it's possible to have a different type of agriculture, and all these concepts are underlying the agriculture in Izmir. And in the recent UCLG summit, we summarized it as the cyclic culture. And gastronomy, yes, it is about chef and taste and restaurant, but I think we should be looking into what we should be taking from the past. This is what I wanted to tell you, and I'm hoping that this valuable meeting here will help us to see this perspective, which is old, but still it is new. So I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank
you, Mr. Advisor. Şimdi de İzmir'de
now. So for Izmir, I would like to invite Mayor Tunç Soyer, the president of Köy Coop Izmir Association. Thank you. So I will continue where Gwent has stopped. Thank you very much. Women, yes. Women are continuing with agriculture. Distinguished guests, welcome all. And yes, gastronomy is not only a recipe, is not only a dish cooked by skilled chefs. So it is not a tasteful dish. Gastronomy is not only about that. So you will be seeing pictures in my presentation. And here. And so I'm going to talk about 10,000s of year. I'm going to talk about 108 agricultural development cooperatives, and there are more than 15,000 growers that are members of these cooperatives. And when you consider the number of people in their households, we see that there's a large grower population here. And so these small family businesses are almost 60% in the world that are providing these food items. And I think these small family businesses are very important so that food can be grown in a fair way. And so gastronomy is a very wide, broad concept that you cannot only limit it with chef. And abundance is the charming essence of gastronomy. And so the gastronomy's presentation is only a part of our issue. And in truth, gastronomy is based on water and soil and also labor and table. So gastronomy is not a recipe that you can copy in a one page. So it's a culture that comes alive with its society. And gastronomy is, as I said earlier, abundance is the charming essence of gastronomy. Gastronomy feeds us. So taste is very important. And so a food may be very delicious for us, but still its production process is important. If its production threatens other creatures in the nature, we cannot say that food is delicious. So taste is something that should be felt by everything throughout this link. So a good food does not only come with the talented hands of a chef. So it is a result of everything, and there may be people on a table, but still other creatures and other people are attached to that table with their lives. So we should be asking how the grape is grown. We should not be eating it. We should be questioning what we are eating, where it is coming from, how it is grown. Because table is not a place of consumption, it's a place of sharing with us. So we should be thinking about other creatures in the environment and the people who has grown it and the person who has cooked it. And therefore, this Izmir land is a very good example to this.
In the Aegean, and the sea and the mountains are intertwined with each other, and therefore there are different tastes, and all these different tastes are in harmony with each other. And this harmony has been created as a result of multiculturalism. Izmir is itself a table. For thousands of years, different cultures have come together around this table, and so the abundance has increased as a result of this. And this magical meeting shows us that the women play an important role in the gastronomy, and the women of Izmir, they think of the health of their families, and they think about the rights of all the living creatures, living beings involved in the gastronomy. Welcome to the table of Izmir. I would like to thank Ms. Soyer for her speech. We will have a coffee break, and afterwards we will meet our doyens. And Nedim Atilla will be with us, and his Ahmet Uri from the 9 Eylül University, he will be with us. And before that, we might have a Q&A session. And is there anyone who has a question?
Together again with Mr. Nedim Atilla, dear food writer, and Mr. Ahmet Uri, the archaeologist from 9 Eylül University. But before the short coffee break time, do you have any questions to our speakers? Okay, thank you very much. See you soon then.